Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the next in our series of videos about Visual Basic. This one is on colors. Yes, colors. So I have up Microsoft Paint here, which, yeah, excuse me, not terribly different than really any photo program you'd use. Paint 3D, Photoshop, Earthhand View, even something as complicated as Blender and Unity. They all based on, for the most part, this color system on a computer. It's called the RGB system. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. And so you have your basic colors. You have up here your black, white, red, green, blue. Just the basic standard color palette. But if you open up Edit Colors, you get this little color chooser, and you can pick lots of different colors. And when I'm scrolling around here, you see the hue, saturation, and luminosity changing. If you go to like Lowe's or Home Depot to a paint store, Sherwin-Williams, you see these color swatches. And so by moving this around, you're changing this bar on the right side. But see how these are all staying the same, and see how, most importantly, the color's staying the same. So don't focus on these for the moment. Focus more so on these. And in fact, if I set these back to 0, 0, 0, 0, watch what happens when I start changing the red, green, blue. So if I do, let's say, 100 red, see how the saturation and luminosity change. So they are tied together. I'm not going to get too terribly in-depth with these concepts because this is something you'd learn more in art class. But understand that the combination of red, green, and blue will generate a color in Windows. And so you see here, this, I'll call it like a little dark purple color, is when you have 200 blue, 100 red, and 50 green. And you can move this up and down and see what will happen is as it gets lighter, the numbers will get closer and closer. And as you move it down, they will go down, until, when you get to black, that's when you have a complete absence of color, 0, 0, 0. If I go all the way to white, that's when you have 255, 255, 255. So, from 0 to 255 is a total range of 256 numbers. Now, let me open up another Windows program quick. Let me open up the Windows calculator. If I go into the programmer mode in the Windows calculator, going back to what we did with hexadecimal, octal, binary, decimal, all the way back in, I think it was like November. And don't freak out, you're not going to have to remember too terribly much about this. But a computer works in binary, right? So 256, if I put that in the computer, it gives me this number in binary, which probably is not very recognizable, but you see a 1 followed by lots of zeros. Let me back it up a little bit. Let me put in 255. Now you have in binary 8 ones. So what you have to know about a computer is every bit. The word bit stands for binary digits. So a 1 or a 0. A byte, a B-Y-T-E, is a series of 8 bits. So the maximum number of our system, the base 10 system, that you can hold in 1 byte is 255. So if you go from 0 to 255, that's a total of 256. 256 happens to be a power of 2. If you have, let me go into decimal mode here. You have 2, that's 2 to the first power. And then you say 2 squared. And then you say 2 cubed, 2 to the 4th, 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 6th, 2 to the 7th, 2 to the 8th power. In other words, 8 powers of 2, 8 ones and zeros, that's where 256 comes into play. So if you've heard of something we call 24-bit color or 32-bit color, the reason we call it that is if you have a total of 256 total color combinations of red. And then you have a total of 256 color combinations of green. And you have a total of 256 color combinations of blue. That gives you a grand total of 16.7, roughly, different color combinations that you can make in Windows using the RGB color system. That's 24-bit color, when you just have 1 bit for red, 1 bit for green, 1 bit for blue. To get to 32-bit color, you add on transparency, which, to do transparency, you would take that with another bit, giving you that number of colors, 4 billion, counting one, all of the 16 million colors, basically times 4. Okay. Now, going back to my color swatches, if you look here, again, if I just drag this around and I say like, oh, I want this shade of green right here, to make that, there are certain ones that are built into Visual Basic. We've seen them: the goldenrod, the charcoal, Dodger blue, chartreuse, things like that. But there's not names for all 16.7 billion colors, right? Or million colors. So you can make them based off of the RGB value. And that's what we're going to do with our little program here in this video. And so I'm going to open up RGB color on my desktop. Of course, click the box there, hit create. Just show you this here quick. It's actually relatively simple to do this. Okay. So on my form, let me make, under my toolbox, I just bring that back into focus here. Let me bring on, as we've done a couple times lately, let me bring on a button. All right. And then with my button, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to right click, go to properties. I'm going to click for color change. And I'm not going to change any of the colors of my form or my button. I'm going to just keep them as the boring gray because I'm going to have the program make the changes. But because the button text is really small, I'm going to go up to fonts. Let me increase the font size. Let me make it like 28-point fonts. Click for color change, and let me expand this so that my text is not scrolling up and down. I don't know. That bothers me for some reason. So I'm going to keep that, and as you should always do, I'm not going to change the color of the form, but I am going to single-click the form. I'm going to go to the properties. Let me lock that into place real quick on mine. I'm going to go down to text, and I'm going to say RGB Colors, just so I have a proper title in the top left corner. Okay. So as you saw last week, when we do random numbers, you want to make sure that you set up the random number generator. So I'm going to double click on the form, which takes me to form load. In the form load, I simply put randomize. Nothing else, just the word randomize. Hit enter. It'll capitalize it for you. It'll put the parentheses there for you. Great. Fantastic. Now, if we want to do the code for the button click, so that every time I click the button, it changes my color, we're going to go back to design. I'm going to double click the button, and that'll take me to the code for button 1 click. Now let me code some of these things. All right, so as you saw last week with variables, I'm going to declare a couple variables here. I'm going to go up to my declaration section above all of my subroutines. I'm going to dim red, green, blue. Now, rather than having to spell them all out, I'm just going to use the letters R, G, and B. And, oh, by the way, if you want to do them in a list like this, okay, cool. Just separate them with commas. I also, while we're up here, I should put in a little header, RGB color program, whenever, period 109, throw in my name here. Now let me go back. You still want to put that header at the top of your programs. Remember, comments or apostrophes here. I did those on separate lines, but I'm going to do them on the same line with commas. Perfectly fine. As integer, these are integers, so I'm going to put that there. We're going to learn some of those other things soon enough. And so let me now, when I click the button, I'm going to generate a random number from 0 up to 255. R equals int rnd. What's the range? 0 to 255. Well, that's 256. Plus nothing. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to put plus 0? Okay, I mean, if you want to, you can. It doesn't do anything. Adding 0. Okay, that's exciting. G, int rnd times 256. B, int rnd times 256. So there are your 3 variables. Great. So now you want to see the color. All right. So button1 dot back color, which is the background of the button. If we were doing this in a standard color, you'd say color dot whatever, color dot red, color dot green. But if you notice something that came up right at the very beginning there, from a RGB. Aha. That's what we want. Because we're going to make a color from an RGB value, a red, green, blue shade. So I'm going to say color dot from a RGB, parenthesis. It wants an RGB value. That's what our variables are. I want red, R. I want G, and I want B. Try it out. Run the program. And watch what happens. Click for color change. Voila. All kinds of different colors. And of course, remember, hands-free, not on the mouse. If you want to, you could hit the space bar, or you could hold down the enter key. We'll get to, whoa, that's really crazy. So, really quick, easy way to make different colors in Visual Basic using the RGB system. We're not in Python anymore. You now have the capability of doing some, let's just be honest, some cooler things. You can do lots more easy. Easier graphics. I don't know what the word would be. It's better. How about that? It's a more fun language in my opinion. Funner, more fun. My grammar's all over the place today. Just go with it. Enjoy it. All right, just a couple other things here real quick then. If you want to change the form's properties, and I don't believe this has come up yet, but I want to make sure to at least mention it here in the video in case it has not. This week we're going to be doing label boxes and text boxes in class, another tool. But the form itself, like we've said button 1, but we've never said form 1. And if you notice, when you say form1.backColor, like it doesn't come up the same way it should. Like when I start typing backColor, see how it was like a little bit weird? If I try and say, I'm going to make it red. See how it doesn't like that? Like even if you kind of like force it to do it, it doesn't like that. It's saying form1 cannot refer to itself through its default instance and saying use me instead. It's like the Spartacus moment. Use me instead. So, you know how people that refer to themselves in the third person are a little bit out there. You know, if I welcomed you to class every day, I said, Mr. Ensmeyer welcomes you to class. Mr. Ensmeyer says, load this program. I mean, that's a little weird, right? Well, that's what's happening here. You're in Form 1. So Form 1 doesn't like talking about itself in the third person. So that little error message there when it says use me instead, it's being literal. Instead of saying Form 1, it's saying use me instead. There is a keyword me, which refers to the form that you're on. So if you're on Form 1, which for right now we're doing single form programs, we're calling it me. So I'm going to run this now. I know I only have it set to red, but I just want to show you here quick. It's going to change it to red. It changes the form to red. The pronoun me refers to Form 1. We never use form1 dot to refer to form1 to the form. And it's kind of a circular logic there, but yeah, I mean that's what we're doing. Is we have a way to change the form's properties now, in addition to the other properties on, or the other objects on the form. So that is all for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll be incorporating these as we go. Enjoy. Have a great day.